most off professionally, end up coming back here, playing very, very well in the UA or the U Sports CIS, and then becoming Canadian players in the CFL. And there's tons of people do that. And a guy like Carter Wilson, that guy was one of the best defensive players that we ever watched our time doing HESN. And I was so happy that he went south, but I was always checking to see, is he playing? And it just they don't get that. They don't get a fair chance down there. I'll be honest with it too. If did get a fair chance, maybe there'd be more success. But I love doing. I love sort of maybe put his pride aside and said to himself, well, what's the route for me to become a professional football player? And we'll see what he does in the next few years.
So upcoming, McMaster has Laurier, which we know will be a huge game. Ottawa U hosts York, so that's a game I think they need to win. This is a game they should win. They're supposed to win. They have to show up. They have to do well there. Same as Carleton. They're going to U of T. That's a game they should win, and they have to win because we know how competitive it is now, and the playoff implications are real, especially with a team like Windsor, which is kind of in that mid-pack clump that can play well at any moment. Same with Queens. Western will play Waterloo, which isn't a gimme.
No, I would say that's the game. Laurier and McMaster clearly the week, but Waterloo is really one to keep an eye on, because if Waterloo can win that game, of course they're making a statement. But even if they can close, and even like it's a 35 to 30 win for Western, that shows that Waterloo is here and they're serious.
That's true. Queens looking for a rebound after a couple losses here, and they'll be playing Guelph. So they're going to travel to Guelph for that. So it's interesting time right now in the OUA, and of course the Panda game coming up. Two very good teams. So the hype for that game I think is building right now. With
I think it might be basically all sold out already.
That's great. That's great.
So which is great to see.
Yeah, I want to go this year. I want to take.
I would like to go. Why would I like? Well,
we should go together.
We should. Maybe I'll bring my family.
That'd be great. So, is it really a family-friendly kind of atmosphere? Maybe on the north side. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Let them learn. Let's go.
Let them watch horror movies. You know.
Well, I remember going to. I remember the Renegades. We had the beads.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it was just like.
Daddy, what's Mardi Gras?
I was a little older, but still, it wasn't family friendly.
Right. So let's jump into the Mosquito level here, Ty.
Yes.
A lot of people that we know, great coaches, are coaching at this level, and they argue. I've heard it lots to say they believe Mosquito is the most competitive level of NCAFA. It's definitely one of my favorites to watch.
It's that you know, we always talk about it, right? At first time when the coaches come off the field, you're playing the full size, and it's the first time sort of you're free to play football.
I love seeing the kids, like, you know, they start to wear their uniforms with a little bit of swagger. They have the back plate, they've got the visor, some kids, and you know, the armbands and the gloves, but it's all miniature. And their cuts, like a kid a couple weeks ago, I was covering the Bengals and the Panthers, and I think there was a big punt return, and he was making these great moves, and he was kind of cutting back inside into the field and out. And everything just looked like it was the same thing that the older kids do, but it was in slow-mo.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and awesome. So Cumberland Panthers right now are 4-0. They continue to blow teams out. I think they won 55-0 against Bell Warriors this weekend. The Eagles are not far behind them with a 3-0 record, and these two teams will be matching up soon. So that's going to be a great game that I definitely want HESN to cover that. Followed by Canada, which is 4-1. And I also saw, I believe, the Gatineau team, which have a record of 2-1 right now, but a really good passing attack from Gatineau. So, so you've got just heaps, like the heap of teams here that are 2-1. The Warriors struggling at 0-5. West Carleton 0-5, but really everyone else is right in the mix, and this is going to be such a fun playoff run for the A Cup and B Cups to see where everyone kind of fits into the playoffs.
It's gonna be great, and once you start getting at night, everyone knows you can feel that cool coming in at night, different smells that are happening outside, and it means playoff football's coming up soon. And when you start putting all that work that these kids put in the summer and in the spring for training, and all the time volunteers peers put in, and you start getting close to the playoffs, that's when it starts to pay off. And you know, of course, it's not always about winning. We all know that about so many other things that. But anyone who knows, when you play these sports, you're trying to win. Everyone wants to win. So it's not about avoid. So it's going to be great to see these undefeated teams or one lost team sort of go head to head and see who's going to be champions.
That's right. And I mean, you see these teams that I mean, there's great players everywhere. There's great coaches everywhere. But for some reason, some teams just are able to put it together in some seasons. And I love watching these A-Cup championship teams go at it because they've found some success. They're doing some things well and they're executing well. But then you put them up against another formidable opponent and you see how they react and how they make adjustments. And some kids just rise to the occasion, and those will be our future superstars like Filoloki.
That's right.
One day. So upcoming this week, if we look what's happening, there's a great matchup at the Mosquito level. Canada Knights will host the North Gloucester Giants, and those teams are the Knights are 4-1 and the Giants are 2-1. But that's going to be a great matchup. Both teams haven't been able to hold the other offenses to bay. They've allowed a lot of points. So we'll see if that's kind of an adjustment that happens over the back end of the season, and if they're able to tighten up defensively. And the Cornwall will be traveling to face the Nepean Eagles. The Riders, who are Myers Riders, are 2-2 right now. They will be visiting Bell Warriors, looking for a win there against the winless Warriors. Panthers will take on that Gatineau team with that passing attack, and the Bengals will face West Carleton, who are also struggling at 0-5. So
you know what? One of my most memorable football seasons is when I went on 8 in Tyke. So for all these kids, of course, when I just rant about how winning matters, it isn't everything, right? The fact that these kids are out there getting repetitions, making sure that they're going to make new friends, learn how to play the sport, and even though you're not in these football games, you might be 0-5, but trust me, these kids have fun. These are going to be memories they will remember, whether they realize that now or not. And it's so important because just because you're not winning doesn't mean you're not learning how to play the sport. And that is the most important factor in Tyke and Mosquito, trying to learn those fundamentals of the sport, but not just tackling and passing and how to take a handoff and thing. It's how to deal with pressure, how to deal with losing, how to deal with being a good winner, a good winner, or not being a sore loser. How to with your coaches, how to communicate with players that aren't good. All these things matter, and that's I love seeing. These kids come out, win or lose. It's amazing. It's just, it really is a very, very great age group of football.
Absolutely. If we move up to Pee Wee, if you look at Myers Riders, 5-0. Myers Riders. Cumberland Panthers are 5-0 at the Pee Wee level.
That's awesome.
Bell Warriors 3-1. The Knights 3-2. Cornwall 2-2, and then pretty much everyone is 2-2 or 2-3 up until where the Eagles, Gatineau, and the Giants are struggling at Pee Wee. We talked about the Giants team. We saw them against the Warriors a few weekends ago, and they have 10 players that have never played football before. So a very young team going through some hard lessons with the game, but definitely improving every week. And like you just said, some of those bad years help fuel years when you're in a position to win and you want it that much more. I remember when I was coaching the Warriors, I believe the West Carleton, there was a high school strike, and all those kids that typically play for Arnprior or for the Redmen at Arnprior and Elmont, they came and played the Wolverines, and Hayden Tripp kind of led that team, but there were also the Reddy brothers, and they wanted it so bad because they had typically come from teams that were like winless growing up at the Mosquito and Pee Wee level. And then at Bantam, they put it together and they were pretty good. And I think that informed their desire in that Bantam year was all those years at not being able to win many games.
It's I completely understand. That's how I was. My first year we were 0-8. I'll never forget that. We like six or seven of us team that played more football together as we got older. And even though they didn't, a lot of those guys didn't go all the way. That the next year we went to the finals. We were 0-8 this year. The next year we went to finals and lost. And the next year we went to the finals and like, and it really matters. And I thought it's a team with Owen Clement, well, right? He was one of the receivers on the team with the trip you're talking about.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. He was such a good player. Really love that guy. And I totally saw that in there when you talk to the coaches and you talk to the parents about that. They always talk those games where they were like, it was tough the last few, but then you saw that killer desire they had in Bantam. But yet you also could see time when the pressure got cooking, they didn't have those sort of magic tricks they could pull out their bag because they hadn't been those experiences yet. They were still developing them. But man, those were good. So that Hayden Tripp and Owen Clement guys, they had some great players on teams.
For sure. And Owen Clement now is a Carleton Ravens first-year receiver. He's dressing for the team, and he's able to kind of study under guys like Phil Loki and some of the other great slot backs there. So a good place, and good that Carleton was able to keep him because he was one of the greats. He kind of, if we're talking about Nathan Coleman, you might think about Owen Clement.
Yeah, Owen Clement, I would say he actually looks similar to him. He's a little bigger than him. Owen Clement, I think, is a little bit bigger and not as quick. Owen Clement was more of like that weird, long, stride, sort of shifty and like gangly long type of guy. But he did some things on the other. He was really aggressive too. Like he would lay big blocks, and he was a great kicker as well.
He was a kicker, and actually Coleman was kicking for Canada. I noticed.
There we go. So there are a lot more similarities.
There are some similarities there. Upcoming this week, Sunday, we'll have our Pee Wee matchups. The Giants will face the Knights. Wildcats will visit the Eagles at that level as well. The Raiders will play Bell Warriors. Panthers will play Gatineau, and the Bengals will play West Carleton. So that's coming up this Sunday. If we're going to move up to Bantam, we've been able to cover Bantam a little bit more because the times have lined up really well, and this is by far, I think, the most competitive level in the CAFA this year. This is the one that I think is really, really exciting. Obviously, the midget is very exciting too because of all the changes and the Quebec interlock. But if we look at what's happening to Bantam right now, we were able to shoot the Warriors and Panthers, which was a really good matchup. The Panthers are now 6-0 after that win, a very tight game against the Bell Warriors.
Yes,
Bell Warriors gave them a run for their money.
Yay! And want to see.
And Cumberland pulled that one out. The ground game, Bell was in a position with a minute left with the ball down by 8. And they couldn't really get anything going on that drive. They gave the ball back to Cumberland, and then Cumberland ran a big touchdown on a gas defense. And Bell lost arguably their best defensive player, middle linebacker number 44, who we want to feature a little bit later in the season because this kid I saw against Canada, he's a future star, on the defensive side of the ball. But right now what we have is a 6-0 Cumberland Panthers team. Marco Let's coaching there.
Okay, cool.
Along with Dave Fletcher.
Awesome, I didn't know that. Good for Mark.
And they're putting it together. Obviously, they took that team to the championship last year, losing to Canada. But they are back and looking to redeem themselves. Underneath the Panthers, Myers Riders at Bantam are 4-0. And the Canada Knights not too far behind with a 5-1 record. And then the Bell Warriors are 2-2. But I'm telling you, they could have beat Canada. I think that was a very, very well played game. They didn't play their best game. And I think they're still finding themselves. But right there, you've got 4 teams that will be in the A-Cup hunt. And when the playoffs happen, it's really, it's a matter of which coaching staff have prepared their teams using the film that's available at Bantam and making adjustments and putting a complete game together for 4 quarters. that division's going to be very exciting to watch. And the Eagles, let's not forget, although they have had less convincing losses to some of these other teams, they're still at 2-2.
Yeah, no, and that's it. You're completely on there about those adjustments that coaches are going to have to once you get deeper into the offs. The weather's not going to be as good. You're gonna that's a big factor that nobody ever thinks about. It's always one of those things. Like coaches are practicing wet football once a week. Not a lot of no one I don't think does that. There's a lot of little things you got to think about once the weather gets bad. Tell your kids don't do things like don't practice with pants on because that really doesn't allow. It's little things that really do matter.
Mental toughness.
It's mental toughness. Get out there when it's cold, guys. Get out there and do some not over the top running for no reason, but every practice knowing that you want to do a few extra sprints, a few extra push-ups to make your body that much more ready for those tough games that are going to happen later on in the season when it gets cold and the weather gets bad. And when you're talking about Mark coaching, I love to school that coaching because he coached when I was at the Dukes. The one thing I really liked about Mark as a coach was he had very calming demeanor. Yeah. He's an extremely nice man, of course, because he volunteers so much time in Cumberland Panthers and all that stuff. He's also a really good football mind, and he's very understanding of sort of. He's really having conversations with players. I always found him to be a good give and take type of coach. So when you see him that Mark will let coaches have a good record, you can tell that I really believe that he's a really integral part of that. It's really excited to see if he's going to be able to keep the team on the tracks and get a championship that he's probably wanted for so long. It's going to be great.
Well, it's certainly been a Cumberland Panthers year. Even with the Mosquito team being undefeated, the Pee Wee team undefeated, and now the Bantam team undefeated. They're in line. We have to look at what Tyke's doing. I try not to focus on the wins and losses there so much. It's just kids out there having a good time.
That's right.
But definitely a good year for the Panthers organization. He's sitting at the top of that organization.
And we do know that teams or organizations, these good teams every year doesn't always mean they all win the championship. Because we've where there's been teams. I remember when I was in Mosquito in Pee Wee, the Mustangs, Tyke, Mosquito, and Pee Wee in the championship, and we lost all. It was the most heartbreaking day in Mustangs history, and that can happen because when pressure mounts up, and you're all these undefeated teams there playing on November 4th this year, I believe the championships will be. So it's going to be one of those things that's going to be a crazy situation that you got to stay focused on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say those teams in the middle of the pack, the 2-2 teams, sometimes, especially if you have two losses in a row, you can start to kind of have the steam taken out of you. Oh, we're not as good this isn't going to be as good of a year as we thought it would be. And at that point, you have a chance, or you have an opportunity to kind of stop practicing as hard. Maybe the attendance starts to decrease, or teams really kind of buckle up and care more, and they'll pull it out. And those are often the teams that are more dangerous in the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how those Warriors, those Eagles, and those Mars Riders teams. So upcoming this week, for those interested in how this Bantam level is shaking out, there's a huge game on Friday night at Bob Barr Field in Canada, as the Knights host the Myers Riders, who are undefeated. So that's a 5-1 team versus a 4-0 team.
Yep.
That's going to be a great game, and also the North Gloucester Giants will play the Eagles. So that's a game for the Eagles to really make sure that they are on the winning side of the column there, and that
but it's also momentum. A huge game for the Giants, because if the Giants are win that game and get to 2 wins and drop the Eagles back to keep at 2 wins, now there might be a fight for that last playoff spot. So you never know what can happen, right? You talked about these teams going to lose. Some of these the Giants, they got nothing to lose. They got to win out.
Right.
If they don't win out, they're not going to be playing. So like you just said, sometimes they might strap it up a little harder and get down to business.
So that's Friday night, and then Sunday, the only game on the slot for the Bantam level is the Panthers have to play the Warriors again, and again they need to travel to the Warriors to do it at Quinns Point.
It's gonna be a good game.
So facing them 2 weeks in a row is an interesting situation, and two very good teams, 2-2, and an undefeated team at 5-0. So that'll be an interesting weekend, and Bantam is definitely giving me a lot of excitement this year.
Like we talked that with the new alignment, Bantam dropped down a year, but now it's giving these kids an extra opportunity to get focused a little younger and get prepared for the Big Ten.
For sure, absolutely, and I love seeing some of these, predicting what these Bantam kids can do for these midget teams as they're coming up. We mentioned number 44 for the Bell Warriors, like an all-round linebacker. There's also some great tacklers on that Warriors team. Number 53 is I've seen him make probably 10 or 15 open field tackles that are difficult tackles to make, or when he was in Canada, and then also this weekend against the Panthers. They have great quarterbacks at that Bantam level too, and this is, we know how important the quarterback position is on any football team, but you've got Connor Vanasse at Canada. That's able to step up and join that West Ottawa team that is doing so well. We've got Zach Koche at Cumberland, who's got an undefeated team and a product on the field right now. And then we've got that Warriors quarterback too, that I think he's very young, but he's very impressive. I think he's a kid that looks very much, he reminds me of Nolan Harris. So right there, you've got three capable quarterbacks that are able to step into that midget level and probably start.
And maybe start, or maybe have an opportunity to really get a year of development under system where they can maybe not be so on having to play all the football games, but they're going to be able to go there, get some great coaching, do some training, keep focused on studies in school, and maybe get in there on some games where they're not winning or losing, and they get some good reps. But that's why the system works so well now, is because with new age division, these kids going up, they're going to have 3 years of potential development, a system that they might be able to stay on track with. And if the kids know that they're going to be going to an organization, the Big Ten division, and they know that they have something good there, they'd be more willing to say, okay, well, I understand as a 16-year-old, I'm going to have wait my turn. I know that, like, for example, if Connor Vanasse goes up and Jared Valentino has 1 year next year, I don't know if he does. Let's just say, for example, Connor can learn a lot from Jared, and Jared has a lot of knowledge that he can. They probably already do work together. They play for the same organization, but I think that's a key factor in this whole amazing development that the Big Ten has, that these kids understand that it's about a process. It's not about just 1 year, and it's so great to see, and I can't wait to see these Bantam guys step up the Big Ten in the future.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. So now that we get into the midget level, we put a lot of our coverage in midget. It's a very exciting level to cover, and it's been no short of exciting in terms of the parity and the competition and the great games that we're getting.
Incredible games.
Incredible games. So let's start with the Knights. The first game last weekend was Thursday night at Bob Stevens Field in Canada. Grass turf, which is West Ottawa is accustomed to playing on themselves at home.
Yep.
And it was a 48-20 victory for the Knights. Now, I don't think anyone that was anticipating and waiting for this game on the schedule, the way the season's gone, thought that the Knights would lose this game. Would you say?
No, I would say that. Yeah, yes.
But early in the game, the Eagles. Let's just go through the highlights. I don't know if you've seen these yet.
Yeah, we watched them. Yeah. Let's just check them out.
But I think that the Eagles are struggling right now. We see right off the bat they're trying to go to Coleman. Coleman gets a jet sweep here. The Eagles definitely started number one, power ranked, winning the championship last year. We knew that there was a lot of pieces that didn't return, and there was but I thought that defensively with Dwayne Knight stepping in as DC there, they have had trouble. I think on the defensive side of the ball, they look good early on in the season defensively with that Mustangs game and with Myers, but it's I think teams are starting to figure them out a little bit more, and
also the pressure though, because like the pressure the defense has on them at all times when they're not able to, when the offense is not able to get get some momentum and get some points going. Eventually, the defense, it just you must be just so hard for these guys to go out there and bust their balls out there, but then they're not getting any on the other side of the ball. And it's everyone's trying. I know that it's just it can wear on a.
You're right. The defense has been out there way too much this season. And certainly when they're facing the Knights here, there's just too many weapons. You see right here, I think that was a post corner that Coleman got, and that's, I would say 22 is probably, if not the best, one of the best corners at the midget level. And Coleman had his number in this game, and I know that he wasn't happy. There's a highlight later on where he runs that post corner again and kind of gets him. He speeds turns, but it's not in time, and then he misses the tackle and he pounds the ground. And I've done that myself, and I broke my wrist, so I would recommend to try to refrain from doing that. But
see, look at talent though from Noah. I know. He's such a natural player.
And he adds so much. Like when he makes a play like that, and he gives us a little bit, he gives the crowd a little bit of a, how you going?
I love it.
It adds so much. It's such a spark to the Eagles team having a veteran like that there. And he does score 2 touchdowns in this game from short yardage. One's garbage, but he has a couple big runs here. So back to my point, I just think that they haven't been able to, they just don't have the horses this year on offense. I think it's just what it is, and certainly Canada's defense is also very good, and I think they just loaded up and prevented Noah from doing much when it mattered. The short yardage, he was able to punch it in a couple times, but they couldn't consistently get first downs in this game.
And that's the big thing. And one of the things that I always find when I talk to people about ball, and one of the things I find people just don't understand is, what is the goal of the game of football? If you were to explain what the sport is to somebody, well, sport is you have 4 chances to get 10 yards, and after that, you have another chance to get 10 yards. This is what people need to. This is what I find more people need to focus on. Is as a team struggling offensively, not a good fumble there by Nathan. Nonetheless, if you're offensively, I really believe what you want to do is you want to focus on the small things, and that's 4 plays to get 10 yards. And if you could consistently do that,
this is the play here. Oh no, sorry, it's coming up. That's Matt Lachance.
He's a player too, though. He's a very dangerous player. Super hand. But my simple point is just that if you're helpful offensively, simplify it for your kids. Make it just work those, just getting 10 yards. That's all you need to really focus on.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So interesting, number 12. He played for the Warriors last year, and he's a good punt returner. I remember seeing him. He wore number 2 for the Warriors. I don't have his name right in front of me, but they've been using him in the backfield, and Valentino was able to run that draw and those counters with him, and he had a big game against the Eagles here.
I'm just amazed when I watch Valentino play how quickly he gets the ball out of his hands when he's in the pocket, and how consistently accurate he is with the ball. Of course, he's going to make some throws that can be intercepted because he throws the ball so often. But I mean, just the first half of the highlight tape, good Lord, every pass was right on the money. He's talented, natural passer. He just sits there, slings it. I love it.
This kid, 55, Davidson.
Oh, it's crazy.
He's just what a run plug.
Yeah,
and
he plays football.
Number 9 too scored a big touchdown for the Eagles.
Yeah, that was a nice one. He has some bets on him too.
Look at this, Coleman trying to dive here. Oh, flash.
Good try. He's looking at the camera. Am I in?
And Guy Noel, I believe, is 25. He's a corner for the Eagles. I coached him at the Warriors, and a nice corner. Definitely an aggressive and mouthy guy, chippy guy. I like that about him.
Need a little bit of that.
He's a physical hitter, and I know that him and Ferdinand were kind of chatting at each other online a little bit, and we're highly anticipating this game. But just the word on the street is that this Coleman kid is the total package, and we see in this game how big of an impact he can make. I think anyone going against the West Ottawa team this year has to take care of him first and foremost. And I know Valentino is capable of if the defense gives this team the respect that I think they do deserve, Valentino is capable of kind of picking them apart underneath. But I don't really think that there's anything you can do that's more important than defending this number 11. And I think originally we had this is the one I was talking about, this post corner. Originally Ferdinand was kind of what we thought would be the biggest offensive weapon in the year, but I think he's still got some maturing to do from what I hear. As a player and as a team guy, so I hope that trends in the right way for him, because he is an absolute talent and a stunning athlete. But you got to be the full package, right? You got to have good grades. You've got to be a good team guy that your coaches will talk fondly about, and you also got to be able to put it on the field. Look at this,
and see right there, that play to me best personified Ethan Coleman brings to the table is that there's no fear in this kid when he plays football. He's not scared of taking a hit, but he's not taking necessary hits. He's very smart with how he does it. He knows when to excel. Listen, like I said, Carlton Ravens coach, he was asking me about him. I said, listen, best player on their team. He said, really? Listen, this is the kid that's the best player on the field.
He's up for an award apparently for Nissan Athlete of the Week.
Okay, cool. Well, he deserves it because the kid's on fire. I love how he plays. He'd be my starting receiver of making an all-pro team from the midget big division. That's a great highlight. That's great highlights there. Great stuff by Valentino. Athleticism by number 5 and number 11. Great defensively. But I was impressed with. I was seeing more jump out of the Nepean Eagles offense on there. Noah Gauthier making some plays, Steen making some runs. Just not consistently enough. Honestly.
Yeah. I just think maybe they don't have the horses this year.
Happens,
and it's as simple as that.
That's it.
They might argue with that, and we'll see. There's still half a season to go here. Anything can happen, but with that loss, Nepean falls to 1-4, just behind Myers. So the Giants 2-2. Interestingly enough, they played the Eagles the week before, and really made a statement with like a 49-12 win. I watched these highlights of that game, and I believe it was like a demolition.
Yeah.
Utter domination. And it just looked like the Eagles in this game just didn't have it in them. I think there was a lack of effort. So the big kind of thing to now look at in this division is that the Giants still need to prove that they can win against good teams, and they're going to be playing the Norsemen this Friday.
That's a huge game. We'll be there.
This is a big game for both teams because the Norsemen come off being shut out against the North Shore Mustangs this Saturday.
And let's not forget that we haven't even spoken about the last game that we broadcast, which was the Norsemen Myers Riders. The Myers Riders almost pulled off an upset. And almost came back and won the ball game against Bel Air, and we were extremely surprised about that because we definitely thought that Bel Air would come out and put a beat down Myers based on their records, but I saw something from that game where they came out, they had a new quarterback, started off low, but they really told me that these kids are not giving up, and they got some talent. We know they talent, and I think that the game sort of put a little bit of inside these Bel Air, these Norsemen, and when you see them come out and get shut out by a really North Shore team, don't get me wrong, but I expect more from such a good team that we believe is a good. So
I was surprised when I saw that result.
Yeah,
I just
time for these guys.
I just think that they're too good of a team to have that happen at this point in the season.
Yeah,
and now you're looking at, like you said, that Myers was less than convincing in their performance there, and now they come off that loss, kind of brings them back to reality a little bit.
Yep, that's right.
And I think this is a huge game for this midget division.
Well, this is the game of the year. Like, of course, it's in the sense of two teams, but it's going to be the most important game because lose this game pretty much could potentially not be running for the playoffs. Theoretically, they cannot be.
So there's a board of governance meeting tomorrow night where the playoff structure will be approved. But from my understanding, in the top 10, in the 5 teams in Ottawa,
yeah,
the two of the 5 teams won't make it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be and then I believe the top team of the QMFL division will enter the top division of the QMFL. It is kind of confusing.
It is.
Because the Big Ten isn't necessarily a playoff structure, right?
Yeah.
It's a conference, but then when the playoffs come, it's still the Ottawa City Championship with all five
right.
with the 5 teams.
So it'll be basically 3 teams with Big Ten, and then the one Ottawa team. Which
the one Ottawa team, if Orleans wins out, so they another huge game. So they beat Saint Laurent 40-0. This weekend, and that was the team that the only team that they've lost to previously, and it was like you saw that game, and you said it was a lot of deep passes that were completed that shouldn't have been.
And it was still like 39 of that.
Yeah, it was still a close game. So now that team was winning out after they visited Orleans in that first week, and now they're sitting at the top of that division with Orleans close behind them. And for Orleans to come out and win 40-0 against them, it's a statement. They stand alone as the top team in the QMFL Midget Conference. So if this continues and they have Shadowgay, now Shadowgay's, I think they've lost their quarterback. They've had some injuries. They looked better in week 1 or 2 than they do now. And I think Gatineau was in a position to win against them. Now Orleans will host Shadowgay on Sunday. And that's a huge game because if they win that, I think they have Sherbrooke one more time and they should win out. Yeah. So that would put the Orleans Raftsmen in the top division in Montreal for their playoffs. If they happen to win and beat teams of the likes of North Shore or the Sun Youth Hornets, they could potentially face an Ottawa team in the Interprovincial Bowl.
It'd just be like the coolest story, right? That's like the things that we want to see, right? So, but this is what we want to talk about. We're talking about teams rising up from a division to play another team from a different division. We're talking about Montreal. We're talking about Ottawa. This is why midget football, like when we talked to the referees after the game there a couple weeks ago. We were listening to the referees about how they've been doing such a good midget division. Both Don Wilcox and the other guy said we have never seen midget football so good in almost 15 years. And I was really proud of the work that all you got done in the last 5-6 years to keep things alive and allow it to evolve into where it is today. It's incredible feat by guys.
So Friday night we're gonna do the live broadcast.
It's gonna be amazing.
Tyler and I will be on the broadcast together. We're going to feature a few players to start the game because now we have some footage. We know who has been definitely the showcase athletes on these teams. But I cannot stress how big this game is, and being the only midget action in town here. And I mean, I really think that this is big. This is a bigger game for the Giants because I think it also speaks to like the organization itself. I think if the Norsemen come out and they don't do so well, they lose that game. It's like whatever. Like let's get it back on track and let's shoot for the next 3 games to get into the playoffs, get ourselves right. I think if the Giants lose this game and they lose it like poorly, then it's kind of feeds that mythology about the Giants not being able to win when it matters with the talent that they have. And I mean, this year, probably more than ever, they have a complete quarterback. They have some, I think, Ottawa top caliber like superstars on defense in Oliver Trudeau and Richard Graham and some of the they have a running back number 23. I don't know his name off by hand.
I think Baptiste might be his last name.
And this kid is this is a top 3 running back in the league. They have everything they need to do. Now it's a matter of you need to win against the Bel Air Norsemen on Friday night. That needs to happen.
I would say, top to bottom roster-wise, Giants probably have the best roster. I gave talent-wise, just in individual players, what they bring to the athleticism, ball skills, whatever. What I haven't seen is that consistent offensive ability to keep drive going. It's either 2 and out with 5-yard losses or a 45-yard, 70-yard touchdown. It's one or the other.
Well, and I also think, just to jump in there too, what I've seen, and this isn't like this year, this is for the last like 4 or 5 years. If they do find success, it's when it's at the end of the game in garbage time when they start to get their running game going. And then they look impressive and they score a few touchdowns, but the game was already lost.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you stay on that cusp when the game is still anybody's and perform and actually produce in that time?
And not so easy. It's not so easy. And we always talking about that with my friends, the Detroit Lions have a really tough start to the season, right? They look good in the games, but I mean, when you watch how the Dallas Cowboys played last night, what they were able to do is run their offense and keep the game close. Even though they weren't getting touchdowns and dominating, they were able to consistently get first downs. And I think you're completely bang on with the Giants. Is that if they can keep the running game going and stick with the running game and not feel they need to throw the ball deep, open up the passing game, which can lead to turnovers, they should be able to beat any team because they have the horses to do it. And I'm real excited to see this game. I am predicting right now to all the players out there watching this tonight. I'm telling you this right now. I believe that the North Gloucester Midget are going to come out and they're going to beat Bel Air Lions, Bel Air Norsemen. And I think a two-pronged reason. I think the North Gloucester team has sort of found their stride a little bit. I think they're starting to become more of a unified team. I think they've been through some tough losses. They've had some sort of check moments, and I think they're starting to put it all together. And I think Bel Air sort of going the other way right now. I think that loss to Myers really that win against Myers, even though it was a win, I think it really made them question how good they think they are, and they can be a great team. I believe both these teams can be very, very good teams. And I predict the North Gloucester Giants are going to go out, and it's going to be a beat. I think it might be a 35 to 10, 40 10 type of game. I think it could be one of those nights. The weather doesn't look good, and I think that is a big benefit to the Giants because if the weather's sloppy, it's not nice. I think those Hogs will be able to push the line of scrimmage, and it could be nasty for Bel Air.
So you heard it. Tyler's taking the Giants in this highly anticipated matchup Friday night. I'm going with the Giants too. I think the stars are aligned.
Yeah.
And I think it could either go as kind of them pulling off a close one. It's going to be a great game, or I think that they're by halftime and early third quarter, I think the Giants will pull away by 20.
Yeah.
So there it is.
We're throwing it out there. Remember,
but there's been some times when we predict and it actually fuels the opposite team.
Well, it happened with the Bel Air against the Nepean Eagles. We said they had no chance to beat Jacob Spinella, the Eagles, in the game of midget, and they came out and they proved us wrong. We don't have any preferences. I love all these kids. There's kids on both teams that I think are great kids and great players. And I just call it how I see it. Straight shoot.
The last little thing I will throw in there is next week. So not this upcoming week, but the following Sunday. This undefeated West Ottawa Knights team will play the Cougars. So the Cougars are the team that beat the Giants in week 1. They have, if I just bring up the QML file here, this is a good physical team, and this is a team that will be competing in the playoffs with these North Shore and the Sun Youth team. Like they're up there. So Canada's gotta get past this team. But in your opinion, I know you've been high on West Ottawa all year. Do you think these guys can be beat? And if so, what will teams need to do to defeat this West Ottawa team?
So the one thing that West Ottawa midget football don't do great is run the football. That's not a strength of their team. They can find ways to create wing yardage by create a little end arounds and jet sweeps and that type of. But they're not great at running between the teams. I think if the weather is not good, if they play against a team who has a big defensive line, who's able to impose their physically, I think that Valentino and that receiving core is not going to be able to sling all around like they're do. And I think that will create a recipe for us. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't find ways to, because the one thing I know about
I would agree with you. Bad weather, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah. It really is, and again, it's one of those things that people don't want. Well, that's fair for both teams. Well, it's not, because some have different skill sets. Basketball teams are tall, and basketball teams are short, and that creates different problems. Some football teams big and slow, some football teams are small and quick. The West Ottawa Knights, they're a quick, high-powered passing offense. When the weather, if it's rainy or really cold, and the guys and the guy has trouble slinging it around, they're not going to be as effective. And that's just a fact.
And going back to our conversation earlier about building that callus as a team of being in these close games. We talked about Carleton right now.
Yes.
This could haunt this West Ottawa team. If you get really bad kind of cold, wet weather, and then you also have a game where they feel like they should be way ahead and they're not, and that doubt creeps in, that could be a recipe for disaster for this team.
True.
The other thing, so I don't think you're aware of this. So I got a message after that game, a day or two after, saying that there's some controversy. And in the QMF phone in the quarterback's helmet. And the OC can communicate. Gatineau's been doing it for a few years because they've been playing in the QMFL. So the rule goes, and it was communicated. I don't know how well it was communicated to all the Ottawa teams because, like the playoff structure, and these are new things that are happening, there probably are some questions on how things work. I don't know if this has been all season or if this is something that Canada's picked up, but they had Valentino hooked up to their OC. And I believe that opened up the possibility of some pre-snap reads in that no huddle, reading defenses maybe. I don't know how much really of a benefit other than having the play called. And I don't know, I'm not convinced that there's a whole ton of coaching going on with that communication. I don't know how good those things are. I've bought walkie-talkies in the past for HESN, and we know you spend $200 and it's useless. So, but the Eagles didn't think so. So they have really been upset that this happened, and that what the league has communicated, from my understanding, is that they've been told not to do it again. Now you're able to use that microphone system and headset system when you're playing QMFL opponents in the Big Ten. Orleans and Gatineau are able to use it all the time because they're playing only QMFL opponents. But when two NCAFA teams in the Big Ten are playing together, you're not allowed to use it. It was used. The Eagles are very upset. And I was interested to hear your take on this.
Well, my take is if they played the game 50 times without the earphone, I think Nippy would lose 50 times. So I don't think it really matters in that sense. So I think it affected the outcome of the game. I agree there. If the rules. I don't think that it should be. They should be like some sort of punishment more than just. And just don't do it again. I don't think it should be a forfeit loss or anything like that. But I definitely say that, there should be some sort of punishment that we come up with. Maybe like make a financial contribution to a charity or something of that, or just to sort of say, listen, that is not within the rules. To argue it's ching. At the same token, I sort of feel like this is all sort of new. I didn't even know anyone had that technology. Know that which I think we all should be in their station and be like, okay, number one, we should make okay for everyone to use it.
I agree. I think if you want to use that, like, go for it. And I think next year that's something that we look at and say, okay, just if you think you can benefit from it, go for it.
Yeah, and also, but also like maybe some teams don't have the financial resources to provide their own team. So I would say that.
Well, I think they're like $50 at the Canadian Tire.
Oh, then at the end of the day, to me it's a move. It's just like not a big deal. I would be frustrated a little bit as the team that would be on the losing end of that argument, but also looking at it objectively, it's like maybe it's just not worth the fight. Maybe you have to say, listen, that's not really good. I might call the coach personally and just say, listen, you don't need to be doing that. We're here to do football. That's how I would handle it. I wouldn't yell at anybody. I would call the Canada coach. The coach, listen, man, come on. And if he says, honestly, we've been using it in a game, we didn't know to use it. No one ever said anything before. I would just be like, no problem, and that's the end of it. But at the same token, now that we know, if they did it again, that's sort of that ethics that we talk about in sports, where it's not an ethical decision to continue to do it.
Yeah.
If you know you're allowed to.
You and I are on the same boat here on this thing. I think it's not that big of a deal. I think, like you said, now that it's known, I think people are watching for it, and I think you can't do it, right? Until the rules changed, and there should be some serious consequences if it's done again.
Right.
But it wouldn't have changed the outcome. That's a far better team than the Nepean Eagles. And
That's right.
and certainly a forfeit does not make sense in this case. Some
No.
sort of punishment there. That certainly isn't. So it's one of those things I almost respect in a way that they wanted to see, like, hey, would anyone even notice? And
Listen,
you're kind of, we talk about players playing on the edge physically. Well, it's kind of it shows that this team's playing on the edge a little bit in terms of what they're doing to make their team better, and I kind of respect that.
Me too. I remember back when we were filming some OVFL stuff with Cumberland. I remember when Cumberland people put a big hoopla up when Vince would come over film the game, sort of just film. He'd just be standing there filming out, like not setting it. You just film and then you bring it back. And I remember the parent, some of the coaches of Cumberland, like, oh, that's not good. Can't do that. And I'm just like,
he's scouting.
You guys supposed to go send a camera to games and do it too. He can do it, and it's good for Myers on doing it. And I think that it's the same type of conversation. If I don't consider it cheating, I think that it's maybe there is some ethics in it, and I think that we have a good sort of an ethic discussion about what you want to try to teach kids about winning and at all costs type of stuff. But personally, I like it. I'm okay with it.
So Nightgate has been talked about, and we are
well done. Dwayne, pull that one out all.
But I'm sure that the coaches Carlos and Dwayne are interested to hear our take on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is, but from what I hear, my sources say that it was an honest mistake and that confusion on West Ottawa's side to say weren't sure when we could use it. We heard we could use it.
Yeah.
It was confused. They were confused about the Quebec and the NCAFA thing. I think that's a pretty good excuse. Whether it's an excuse or the truth.
Undefensible.
It's like there are a few things that people had questions about our new setup. So
that's right.
Let's squash that and move on. But this is going to be an exciting week, Tyler. We've kind of covered everything. The power rankings are out and online, and I love taking the grief from people.
It's the best. I love it all.
Also, a funny thing I saw on Twitter, the West Carleton Wolverines have released this 40th anniversary trucker cap. Ooh. And they're on sale. I recommend everyone picking one up to support them and that initiative. And I saw John Buck. He's probably the funniest Twitter personality I know.
Yeah, he's good.
He's got some good zingers there. And he wrote, "Yes, please, I'll take one. Could I have that commemorated and signed by Hayden Tripp?" And I said, "Hey, make that too. I want one of those."
Yeah, no, there we go.
So
that's
maybe
good.
they gotta think about setting up a booth with some of the old West Carleton greats signing those trucker hats for people.
I mean, wicked. Go for them.
But a good initiative too. I like that.
Love it. Outside the box type of thinking. I like.
So let's we'll end it there, and we're gonna see you Friday, man. Can you believe that it's week 6?
I can. It's been amazing. I've been loving every minute of it. NL's in full swing. I had a huge win in fantasy yesterday. I was a scoring player in team, and I played against a person who had the second highest score. So I would have lost. I would have beat everybody, but he would have beat everybody too, and I beat him. So it was a great win. So I'm 2-0 in fantasy, and my Cowboys won last night. Your Rays didn't have a great fit there in the game, and your Lions ain't doing so well either. And football's in full swing.
I'm at the point now where I'm just like I'm like they're not my Lions. Yeah. Like I don't have anything to really cheer for with them at all. I hate Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
I've always hated him. I hate him.
Yeah. He's my quarterback in fantasy,
and the Bills again.
But who's Ryan and Rob? They love the Bills, eh?
Yeah, they were there at the game actually. Two of my buddies this we're talking about went down. I think
this week?
Robert's wife, bought them tickets, so they went down and they said it was just scorching hot.
Oh yeah, it's scorching hot, and a guy at halftime.
Yeah,
guy retired at halftime. So classic. It's brilliant.
Okay. So I heard a little bit about this. People are saying, "Hey, what if it's like a mental health thing, and we shouldn't be like roasting this guy?"
Whatever. Shut.
That would be like, I'm gonna retire during the show.
Yeah, no. Listen, listen. I'm more having open discussions about my health, and I'm not diminishing in any. But I mean, you can't use it as an excuse for some types of behavior. You're a professional football player. You're in a game. If you fake a hamstring injury, don't do the game. talk to coach and your teammates after. You don't just leave at time. People were asking, is the player park even unlocked? Like, how the hell get out of there? Like it's.
I think he probably had like he had like a disguise.
Listen,
he's like the fugitive, and he had like a change of clothes.
Because he said put on a fake beard and like walked out of there and stuff. But the guy, you know what though, Vontae Davis, he was really high draft pick. He was a really good player for Indianapolis for a long time. He's a loser. He's been a loser for 3 years. He's been a problematic teammate.
Didn't that happen in the movie Replacements, where the guy like went into the first row and he's watching? They're like, "Hey, you're a kicker," and he's like eating popcorn. He's like, "We ain't gonna win this one," you know?
Yeah, that's an underrated football movie, by the way.
It is, and I'm a huge Keanu Reeves fan. So,
and you got me on the Keanu Reeves train with Point Break because I like Keanu Reeves, but after watching Point Break and analyzing it philosophically, it really brought me to a level of his appreciation.
Well, let's end it there, my friend. Thanks for joining us on the HESN podcast. I know everyone loves your take on Ottawa football.
I like it. And I'm not scared to say it.
We will see you Friday night. Kickoff at 8 p.m. We're going to go live around 7:30. We're going to feature a few players. We're going to talk a little bit about how high these stakes are for these two teams.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to be having the playoff structure by then announced. So we'll know what happens to Myers and what will happen to potentially the Giants or Nepean.
Who knows? We'll see.
Okay, man.
All right, brother.
Redneck.
So here we go. We're bringing on Phil Loki, Carleton Ravens star receiver, to the HESN Live local football show. How you doing, Phil?
I'm good. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. So my first memory of you is back in, I think it was Pee Wee, it might have been Bantam, first year Bantam for you when you're playing with the Nepean Redskins. And it was pretty obvious that you were the best receiver in the league back then. And now it's a real pleasure for us to see you doing so well at Carleton.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't say the best receiver. There was a guy named Curly Giddens Jr. who was pretty good as well. So, and Jordan Dupree. So we had a pretty stacked court receiver there in the region. So it was pretty fun competing week in and week out. But those were some of the best times of my life, man. Just playing football with your best friends, and it was awesome. I wouldn't trade that experience for the world.
For sure, man. So some of the things that you did and some of the work that you put in to get to where you are. You obviously, I'm interested in knowing why you chose Carleton, why you decided to stay in Ottawa, and but I'm sure you had the ability to go really anywhere. Your track record spoke for itself. You had all of your OVFL success, you had your NCAFA success, and you chose Ottawa. How come?
I'm not gonna lie to you. The fact that I could kind of stay home and be with my family is something that I definitely don't regret. I had a chance to take some really cool visits. McMaster, like I see the nice little jersey behind me.
Yeah.
So, I had a chance to talk to some of the best coaches in the country and all that stuff, and it was great. But the fact that I was able for the first couple of years of Carleton's rebuild to kind of be in the stands as a fan was incredible, and to kind of watch those guys build, and the fact that I was able to connect with a lot of the guys on the team, Nathaniel Hamlin, Tunde Adeleke, all those local guys that I knew. It kind of made an easy transition. It's like, man, this is it's a natural fit. It's gonna be a smooth transition. And obviously, you sit down with Coach Samara and Coach JP, and those guys are just brilliant guys. And when they kind of lay down for you the platform and the schedule that they have for you moving forward, it's kind of hard to deny. Every coach that you meet with is going to tell you, they have the best program, they have the best academic support, they have the best training staff, all that stuff. But if you're not able to actually go in there and see for yourself, then you're really giving yourself a huge disadvantage. So, being that I was a local Ottawa guy, I had a chance to be in that Carleton locker room I had a chance to be in that Carleton locker room a couple of times, and I was able to visit facilities and kind of just fall in love with the place. It's the best university in the world, it's that small atmosphere, and yeah. You know, and another thing is I couldn't do the Ottawa U downtown scene. That's not for me. You know, I'm more of a what's that?
I always thought that I'd enjoy that, you know, like I never really visited, but like having the downtown scene so close. I mean, it'd be good for partying, that's for sure.
Also, I enjoy it as well, but I'm kind of like a homebody, kind of just chill, relax, and the whole busing and downtown scene, it wouldn't work out for me. So
yeah.
Carlton fits in very well with me in that aspect.
Right. So, what are you studying at Carleton, Phil?
I'm currently studying business law at Carleton.
Nice. Yeah. So, are you thinking about entering law in the field of law, becoming a lawyer, maybe?
That's my plan right now. After I'm done my bachelor at Carleton, I'm planning to apply for law school after that, and then see what happens from there.
That's fantastic. There's another local lawyer that had a pretty successful career in the CFL too.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah. So and now obviously Climby's been on the TSN broadcast for a long time. He's great broadcaster. But that's great. That's great. Now the other thing I noticed is that I think you've been pretty patient receiver at Carleton. You've been this is year 3, right?
Yeah, year 3. Year 4. Sorry.
Year 4. Okay, and we definitely saw you starting to make an impact last year, but. For a guy with your talent, I always thought, you know, how have you managed the patience of year 1 and 2, not really being thrust into action like you were in year 3? Now you're the guy. So tell me about what that process was like for you when you got to Carleton, and now, you know, in year 4 where you're really making a big impact.
I mean, to be honest with you, I definitely thought that I'd be a little more disappointed in myself. If I were to ask if I were to speak to myself, you know, 4 years ago, when I said to myself, "Man, the first 2 years of your university career, you're going to be the 5th receiver or the 6th receiver, and it's going to take you a little while to transition," I would have been like, you know what, I'm just going to go to a potential other school or whatever. But then I look back at it and I'm like, man, when I graduated from St. Joseph's High School and I went to Carleton, I honestly was not a very good receiver. You know, you get out of high school and you're athletic and you can do certain things, but in terms of being a full receiver, I'd be lying to you guys if I said, man, like I really came out of high school prepared. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. You know, I got to sit behind Nate Bahar, who's not too bad of a receiver. I got to sit behind Calvin Weinsberg, Wilson Birch, a bunch of those veterans, and kind of just sit, shut up, listen, learn the playbook, and kind of develop. And I think to be honest, I think it really kind of paid off in the long run. I think the past year and a half it's a true tribute to those guys that I sat behind. And I don't think we'd be having the kind of success that we're having now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe dig into that. Like, what are the sort of things like downfield blocking? Maybe, you know, what you're doing when the play is away from you. What other kind of elements do you think that you're pretty raw at coming out of high school in your NACAFA career?
Well, I think coming out of high school, I think I was fairly athletic guy. You know, in terms of just going up, high pulling the ball. I'd give you some nice little run out to the catch action, all that kind of stuff. And you know, the first day of training camp, when we got in there, we did some one-on-ones, and I thought, you know, I'd just be straight lining, running around guys, and it's like, man, this is a totally different game. It's a totally different style of play. And then you encompass the whole learning the playbook and learning the coverages and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, man, I really have no idea what I'm doing. So my transformation, I think, kind of came in that first off season. And when the season kind of slows down, obviously the season's over with, and the coach kind of gets some more one-on-one time with you, and you're able to kind of sit down and dissect the playbook and really figure out what you're doing and why you're doing it, which is the most important part. Because I feel like as a receiver, sometimes you're out there, you're running routes, and you don't really know the full concept of the play, which is fairly important, you know. So we kind of get to ask those why questions, and I think that benefited me in the long run. We have a great receiver coach here at Carleton, Josh Jacoby, who's a legend in his own right. So the fact that I get to pick his brain every day is pretty cool. And you know, I obviously have me and Nate talk you know, weekly before every game. So I mean, we kind of, you know, shoot texts back and forth, and I'm sending him film, and he's, you know, correcting me and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun supporting stuff we have here at Carleton.
Yeah, we talked to Hamlin, or sorry, we talked to yeah, we talked to Hamlin a few weeks ago, and he was saying that the boys from that graduating class, and even some of the younger guys like yourself, are still pretty tight. And they say that once a Raven, always a Raven type thing.
Yeah, no, that's the cool part about Carleton, man. And I mean, I'm sure it's similar in other places around the country, but the benefit here at Carleton is that the program is literally 6 years old. So your alumni, aren't the traditional alumni. You know what I mean? You're probably still partying with the alumni after games.
Actually, that actually doesn't. That's true everywhere. Actually, I've been back for a few homecoming games, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You're there partying. It's interesting the ability to dig into and be able to understand what JP and Samara are doing with the offense, understanding not only what plays being called and what you're trying to achieve with that play, but what plays are being called at what parts of the game and why, like what you're trying to lead the offense towards throughout the game. Those are kind of the deeper understanding and intelligence of the game that I guess you're talking about there too.
Absolutely.
And so you say you talked to Nate before the games. He's still a mentor. You guys share film. Would you say your goals have changed now being in year 4 as from what they were maybe when you entered as a rookie? What is the goal not only for this team this year, but for you personally?
I mean, it's gonna sound very cliche, but like my goal, to be honest, is to do whatever the hell I can to help this team like win at a big level. Because to be honest, it's I feel pressure myself just being a local guy. You know what I mean? And it's I feel pressure kind of being a local guy. So I went to high school, and a bunch of my friends go to Carleton, a bunch of my friends go to Ottawa U, a bunch of my friends kind of stayed around. It's kind of like, hey, yeah, you went to Carleton, right? That's the new program that started, right? So how are you guys doing? And it'd be nice to kind of be like, yeah, man, we're making a deep dive in the playoff. So that's the kind of pressure that I'm putting on myself. You know what I mean? But in terms of the team goal, it's, win every week, get better every week, and compete for Yates Cup and then a Vanier Cup later on. We had a pretty disappointing season last year in our expectations, and I think we were looking fairly well this year. Starting hot, 3-1 record, but at the end of the day, also doesn't matter if you're not going to make a true deep run in the playoffs, and we're itching week by week to kind of get back there and kind of prove some people. So it's going to be interesting. But the goal always remains to get better week in and week out and compete for the big titles.
For sure. And now I think your numbers this week were pretty impressive, 6 for 67. You guys have – who do you have here? You have U of T coming up. So having said that, that's got to be a game that you're expecting to win. They just lost to McMaster, although U of T is definitely a team that isn't the U of T of old days. They can win week to week, and where do you guys think you are in terms of being able to compete deep in the playoffs with some of the other OUA powerhouses? What will it take for you guys to be in a position to win a quarter and maybe a semifinal?
Well, first of all, great respect to U of T. They've done some great. They've done like a whole 360 down there with the new coach and other good new coordinators and all that stuff. And they got some of the best facilities in the country. So they're definitely a program that's going to be on the rise. But from our perspective, we're looking for I don't know how you say this, but I guess like our pivotal win of the season. I think we've had a bunch of close calls this year, which we're not really too happy with. You know what I mean? We go to overtime 2 days ago with Queens, which was a good game. But if you were at the game and you watched the first half, you thought you probably could have left at halftime and not look back. But I think we were beating them.
What is that a result of?
That's a tricky question, but I think it's a result of us just not finishing games. And I think as a fourth-year player, I kind of take that on myself. It was 40 degrees out there, and I think I wasn't in the right mental state to finish that game. And so that kind of comes through your preparation. Throughout the week, Monday to Monday to Friday, making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're getting your food in you, make sure you're getting your lifts in you, and that's what it comes down to. But at the end of the day, it also comes down to mental toughness. Being able to open up that second half as a freshman game and kind of just restart. And if you look at our past 4 games, we lose to Western in overtime, and then we go to Windsor and we have like a sort of close game, and then we go to Waterloo and that's another nail biter. So going to Toronto this weekend, I guess we're looking for like that convincing win. We want to show people that we're not always going to be giving nail biters. So that's right. That's the goal. And to answer your second question, I think we have the best, or if anything, as close to the best in terms of talent of anyone in the OUA. You bottom, we're a pretty impressive group. We have a second-year pivot in Michael Ruder, who's just shredding the league on fire right now, and he's doing his thing. We have potential CFL player in our right tackle, Noel McGreer. We have Ken Yoniek, Defensive Player of the Year last year. So we're pretty explosive, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we don't combine all those talents and make it work. So I think we can hang in there with anyone. Our opening weekend at home, we take Western overtime, they win the Vanier. So if that's who we're looking at, the top dog, then I think we can hang in there with anyone for sure.
Right, and you mentioned Michael Ruda this week, who's 26 of 34, 303 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. So if he can continue those types of numbers, and obviously throwing to my man Phil a lot, you guys would be in good shape. But it also shows how important that Panda game is going to be, because Ottawa's right there as well. But I think that not only looking to the Panda, how pivotal that will be, but also I think that win against Waterloo will come back to be a big one.
Absolutely. So you saw they just beat Laurier this weekend, which is a big one for that program. So if we take care of business this weekend in Toronto, and I think Ottawa U has York this weekend, and they take care of business with them, we're going to be heading in that game 4-1 apiece. So it's gonna make for some pretty interesting headlines. Ottawa U has a hell of a team down there, and a hell of a coach, and Coach Breezy, awesome genius football mind. So that game's always going to be a close one. Like I said last year, I remember I was talking to someone, I'm like, man, we can be 0-7, they can be an 0-7. No matter what, that game's going to be the best game on the OUA schedule, because we just know each other so well. And at the end of the day, it's your friends and family and everyone that you love sitting in those seats watching you. So it adds a little fire to the game for sure.
Absolutely.
So So if we take care of business this weekend, they take care of business that weekend. It's going to make for some pretty interesting headlines for sure.
For sure. I agree with you. There's something about that matchup. It's the best experience in the youth sports across the country, hands down. And there's a lot of pride online. So whatever you guys are in the standings, that's always a good game. You're absolutely right. And also I think U of T's a big game. I think, like you said, you're looking for that decisive win, that statement win. This has a lot of implications. The OUA is so competitive now that the games that you're supposed to win, you have to win. And this is a big one. So this is you're traveling to Toronto for this one?
Yeah, traveling to Toronto this Friday. But like you said, there's no game on the schedule that's too soft, right? I think we kind of took Waterloo last year a little for granted, and we were able to kind of. And they put us on their highlight tape pretty quickly. So I think the approach this year is kind of we don't take anyone for granted, man. We're playing for Hughes this year, so we're not underseeing anyone, and we're treating every game like it's the most important game, because at the end of the day it is. So we got to go.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little interview with you here from back in the day. You look a lot younger, I gotta warn you here, but I want you to start thinking about, as we watch these highlights of you back in the day, what some of your best memories were playing in NACAFA, growing up, playing football. If you can think of a moment in a game or something like that, that'd be great. We'd love to hear about some of those moments. So let me just get this clip here. And I'm going to turn the audio on so we can hear this interview. What are your expectations for the season?
Well, we're just gonna take the game. We're just gonna take it game by game. You know, A Cup. You know, I think that's what everybody strives for. I think we can get there with what you just listed.
So there you go. The goals haven't changed. Win the championship.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy. I think that was our opening. I think that was week 1.
And this is the play here. This is when I was like, "Who is this kid?" And that was week 1 against Cornwall down in Cornwall, and you lit it up, man. And I think that was your first year bantam.
Yeah, first year bantam. We had an impressive roster that year, man.
Yeah, you had Spinell at quarterback.
Yeah, we had John Lansana. There you see him running.
Yep.
We had a good group of guys, man. And I mean, to answer your question about a couple memories, I mean, the fun part is probably the younger days. Like I always like me and my friends and family and my brothers, I guess, kind of always like go back and forth with this. But it's like I think football was more fun definitely when you were a little younger. Obviously, it's still an awesome experience now playing with your buddies and stuff. But I think Tyke and Mosquito and somewhat Pee Wee was the best because at the end of the day, it wasn't as serious and it was kind of more as laid back. Of course, you want to go out there and you play with your friend or compete for a championship and all that stuff. But the fact that you were able to take three days out of the week, kind of ignore school for 2 hours and kind of just pretend to know what you're doing and playing football, it was the best feeling in the world. I wouldn't trade that stuff for the world, man. I made some of my best friends playing with the Nepean Eagles or formerly Nepean Redskins. Best time, man. I think if I would pinpoint one memory, I think it'd be I don't know if you remember this, but I think you guys were at that game actually. It was that same year we beat Cumberland at Cumberland to go to the finals to play Myers, and we had a young running back named Dover Colley. He went for like 7 touchdowns or something, and that was one of the craziest games of my life. I don't even think I had a catch. I did.
I remember that one. Yeah.
I remember I had it was freezing. It was freezing that day, and I had the first touchdown of the day. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a good day. Like, you're feeling good about yourself. And I don't think I caught a ball for the rest of the day, but like the clock went down at the end of the game, and you're like, man, like you don't care because at the end of the day you're going to finals. It was the first time that a bantam program was going to the finals, so it was just crazy, man. And it was a night game too, perfect atmosphere. That I think we're heavily underdog that game. And the fact that we were able to come out victorious was pretty cool. They had a special team that year, and the fact that we were able to beat them was pretty cool and advance to the finals. So that was probably my best memory, playing under the lights that cold fall day in Cumberland for sure.
We'll have to fish up that game, those highlights, because I remember that. I think Tyler shot that game, and it was a shootout. I remember that. I remember Dorber kind of arrived on the scene, and then he went on to do a couple more years of some great things there. And you had a few other players on that roster. Dan Porter, who's doing some things at McMaster now, and also Andrew Beattie, who had 7 solo tackles against. I think they played Guelph this week.
Yeah, I know. We played them 2 weeks ago at Windsor, and he was playing. He was lined up right above me at boundary. He was giving me a hard time. So it was kind of it's cool seeing all those guys progress, man. We've had I played with some of the coolest dudes, man, and there's a great example, Eddie Ekio, who's at Carleton dominating the OUA. He was an All-Canadian this year, and I mean, from watching, he could have chose whatever he wanted to do athletically, and
for sure,
absolutely. So I see him every day. It's kind of cool. We kind of talk about these highlights and stuff sometimes. So it's fun to see where everybody landed and who's doing what and where.
Definitely, man. Well, I know, speaking on behalf of HESN and NCAFA, it's been great to be a part of your development, and we're really proud of you. I know everyone that's watching this interview right now, it's great to check in with you, man, and we hope you stick around the community and continue to do what you do, man.
Absolutely, and I want to give a big thanks to you guys, not only for having me today, but like I said, me and my brothers, we really appreciate what you guys have done for the football community here in Ottawa, man. You guys, I remember having some chats with you after the game, and like, man, this guy's crazy. What is this guy trying to do with this camera and these microphones? But you look back 5 years later, and here you guys are, man. It's a true testament to your hard work and your team, what you guys do, man. And you guys have really kind of put a huge spotlight on football here in Ottawa. So big thanks to you guys, man. Really appreciate your work, and I'm gonna keep pushing the brand forward and all that stuff. So thanks a lot, guys.
Hey, thanks, Phil. That means a lot to us. And so, speaking of your brother, what's the latest on Honor Roll?
You gotta you probably know more than me, but he's committed to Toronto early or late, I guess, in before the school. He committed to Toronto late in his grade 12 year or whatever, and then I think a couple weeks before training camp, I don't know if he got frozen feet or if he just, and he decided that he'd take the year off football, I guess, and he's currently enrolled at Ottawa U studying economics. So okay. I think he's kind of just reopening his recruiting and see where he goes from there. I know he was in our locker room a couple weeks ago on a visit, so
right.
Hopefully we'll be able to get another Loki in the Carleton uniform, and we'll see what happens.
That'd be great, and you and your brother are really talented guys, so wherever he does play, it'll be fun to see him out there again. But I also know you guys are very serious students as well, and academically, you guys have always put a lot of importance on that. So it's good to see that you're doing well and looking at a professional industry like being a lawyer. I know your brother was interested in med school when I talked to him a few years back.
Oh, I think I don't know. I guess he took a 1260 now, but
right.
Yeah, he's studying economics right now. So to be honest, I'm excited to see where he lands as well, because he's probably better than I was coming out of high school. So I'd be disappointed if he wasn't on an OUA roster next fall. No matter where that was, I'm gonna be happy regardless, because that's my guy. So
right.
Yeah.
So we got to wait to see where he lands, but I think that'll be exciting when we finally see what he decides to do. And good luck this week against Toronto. We'll be rooting for you guys, and looking forward to that Panda game.
Yeah, me too. Thanks a lot, Justin. We'll take it 1 week at a time, but it's coming sooner, closer than expected. So
for sure,
it should be fun. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, you bet. Bye now.
Yes.
Redneck. This is a Chucky Beat production.
Okay, so that's our show today. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's getting late. It's 11:51 according to my clock. I'm tired. It's time to get some rest. But thanks for joining into the HESN Live local football show. I'm Jesse Card on behalf of the entire HESN crew that help us get these clips together. All the players and parents and coaches and volunteers that give us the inside info, continue to do so, because that helps us make a better show. Looking forward to the big broadcast Friday night in the Midget Big Ten Division. It's going to be live on HESN Facebook and YouTube as the Norsemen host the North Gloucester Giants. And also stay tuned. I mentioned at the start of this telecast that there's some major news in terms of high school football and NCAFA football, and I'm just at the point of just gathering details and facts. And stick with me in the next little while as we uncover the issue a little bit more. And like I said, on behalf of the entire HESN crew and on behalf of the National Capital Amateur Football Association, which is the football organization and community that develops football, make no mistake about it, we are the glue that holds football together here in this town. I'm Jesse Card. Have a good night, everybody.